Hello. What's going on? Wait, I can't hear you. A minute.
You did.
There
Not
we go.
much
Okay,
packing.
where are you going? You're so fancy. You look
I
excited.
always dress like this, and it's so fun. So I'm like, when I went to Israel last, I was a Floridian, and now I'm Canadian. How am I going to cope with the weather difference? I don't know what to pack.
By the way, okay, so let me just say, first of all, it is true that your blood changes. So the good thing is that no, now you're Canadian,
Yeah,
right? So it's colder, right? Nachon?
yeah.
Right.
Oh,
So the
I'm
only
so much.
thing now in Israel this week was cold, not like Canada. Okay, let's be honest. Okay. But I did the exact reverse. I'm from Teaneck, New Jersey, and then we moved to LA for almost 10 years. I remember making fun of the LA people before, like, oh, the weather, oh, that's so nice. Like, you always talk about weather, it's so weird. Okay. And then I moved to LA and I was like, the weather is perfect. And my blood thins. And when I would go back to Teaneck, I'd be like, I don't understand how any human survives here. You know what I mean? And the reverse is true of you. Yeah.
I'm momish, have no idea. I like was grilling people in shul. What do you wear when you go to Yerushalayim? They're like, oh, bring a winter coat. I was like, my Canada Goose. And they're like, oh, no, definitely not that. That's my winter coat. What does it mean?
Okay. So I'll tell you, like today I wore a pea coat, like you know what a pea coat,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a whatever the fabric, I don't know.
Cashmere.
Um, with a umbrella. And I wore this. This is like a real sweater. But
Yeah.
then that's this week. Last week was LA. The whole season's basically like been like LA weather. So my best advice is to pack layers, like to bring a sweatshirt or a sweater, and then if you need the coat, you'll bring it, and to pack an umbrella just in case, and to pack like some type of sneaker or rain boot as a like just in case also. I know
Hmm.
a lot of stuff, but the weather's been kind of wonky for us too. So
Hmm. That's gonna be great.
I'm so excited you're coming.
I texted Matan to find out if I could. So I'm in one of Yael's classes, like STEM, the one that I randomly will stay up until 2 in the morning for because I'm a crazy person. But I want to know if I can sit in on classes in Matan when I get there.
Did they
I,
respond to you?
no, they haven't responded to me. I don't
When
think
did you
somebody
send the email
WhatsApp to their WhatsApp
to their
this
WhatsApp?
past,
When did you send it? Last week?
yeah, this past week. Yeah.
No, that's not okay. Typically, they respond within 24 hours. I'm going to go ahead and ask. Um,
Let me check. Make sure I'm not eating my words.
you hold on
I would love to sit in on more classes, especially on the Wednesdays.
one second. I'm just gonna 1 minute because someone year one and year two. 1 second. I got distracted for 1 second because Rachel Dratch asked me to just now to share her things. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Sorry. So I'm not ignoring you. I'm just realizing that I need to do this. 1 second.
Yeah, just checking back. It just was an automatic Hebrew response.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask Malky, who is the one who you need to talk to. Kadish. No, Kadish. No, how do you say it again?
Kadish.
Every time that I say your name, I think of like ways to remember, and then I remember the opposite. So, like, I've said Kadish, but then I'm like, no, it's Kadish. You're just getting confused.
It's because we haven't made Aliyah yet. It has to be the Anglo version. But once we make Aliyah, it'll
You
have
will
to be.
make, yeah, I feel it. I feel it. Batya with an H. Hold on. Kadish wants to know she can join in on class. Tell me the dates.
The Wednesdays. So it's this Wednesday. Oh, so excited.
Oh,
I'm landing
oh wait,
today.
hold on. I'm just letting in some people here. Okay. So this Wednesday is we're talking the 17th
Yes.
and the next week as well, or no?
Next week we have Eshkolot, but the 31st also.
How long are you here for?
2.5 weeks, unless my brother gets out. If my brother gets out, I'm gonna ask my husband if I can stay for an extra Shabbos. I don't think he's gonna say yes, but I'm gonna ask.
Where is he posted?
He's in Shiloh. My gosh, he sent us videos from where they were posted over Shabbat. Oh my gosh, every single one of my sisters-in-law, me and my sister were all jumping on the chat like, we're coming, we're cleaning the kitchen.
Fantastic. No, what you said last week is really sickening to me. Like basic, this is just basics, basic hygiene, basic food safety, just basic. Like just like they have safety and guards, like food is a basic need.
He's already had a stomach bug. And I know that if he's had it and how many other boys are suffering? And I mean, I'm coming to Israel. Give me a mop. I don't care how gross it is. I have 4 younger brothers. I can handle it.
I'm so with you. Hello, Ahuva. Hello. Hello, everyone. Shira, hold on, just letting people out at the same time. Nishama, hello. Rachel, hello. Who am I forgetting? Hold on, a couple more people are about to join us.
Good morning.
Hello, Tamar. One second. But received no reply. Wait, hold on. Batya, do you currently pay to join an online class?
So I'm in one of I'm in one of Yael's classes.
Do you know which one?
The one for Yitzchak. I would love to sit in on both of them. The other one's on Shivat Zion. But I think Rabbanit Targin also has classes that morning. So it's really going to be
I got you.
very challenging choices.
Rachel, Allison, and Gabi. One second. First of all, it's so nice to see everybody here together. Hello. Do you guys get as excited as I am when everyone's here? Hello, Rachel. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so happy that you're here. We're waiting for a few more people to get on. Just takes a couple more minutes, but we're almost there. As we're talking, I'm clicking, admit.
Nice to see so many amazing people here.
Thank God we have very, very, very special teachers. We're really very blessed. So like I told you, this is actually a mixture of year 1 and year 2, which I think has only happened once before. You could nod just motion to me, but I think it only happens for a leap tag. Am I right? Have we? Oh, and the orientation, right? Nachon? Is that it? So we really haven't been together very much. There's a couple more people I'm letting in. But they're great.
Did everyone here see Shira Cronenberg's amazing work, especially her visuals for the 100 days? Shira, did I get that right? Am I getting you confused with a different Shira?
It might be the other. I know who you're talking about. Shira, it's not you, right? It's the one who's the artist.
Oh, okay, sorry. But you are fantastic too, also. Terrific. I'm sure.
It's Shira Alman, I think.
It's what's her name?
Shira Alman.
Thought it was a Shira K, but awesome.
I also thought so.
Baruch Hashem. Where are people from on this call? I know where Gabi's from.
A lot of places. A lot of places. There's a couple more people joining right now. You can ask everywhere from, they'll tell you. I'm not going to give it away.
Tara's from Chicago. Gabi's now in Denver. We have Toronto. Did I say it correctly? Toronto. There you go. Oh, London. Sheva, what street are you on? I'm down the block.
Yeah, Ravon. Oh, here in Israel?
Yeah.
Yeah. About Mordechai.
Wonderful. Oh, yeah, I'm across the road.
Oh,
Other side of Herzog. Wonderful. Welcome, everybody. So I'm ready to start whenever you want me to start. Is that good?
I think you should just begin, and then I'm gonna keep on clicking enter. So if you see people joining, you'll know.
Phenomenal. Okay. Friends, my name is Rachel Dratch. I'm Director of Educational Innovation at Prisma, which is an umbrella organization for Jewish day schools in North America. I currently live in Yerushalayim. We made Aliyah this summer. You'll see I'm wearing the 100 days. And great. Actually, I'm wearing my daughter's dog tag because she got out of Milavim and she said she has an extra one, so she gave it to me. So with our hearts and minds and tefillot in that direction, it's an honor to be with you, and I'm very excited for the opportunity. So thank you for inviting me. I'm going to encourage you to take notes in two ways if that works for you. One way is any cool ideas you have, anything you like, take notes, just write them down. I also find that physically writing helps us remember them. And we're going to talk today about having difficult conversations and with dignity. The second way that I'd love to encourage you to take notes is that if there's something going on that you don't love, first of all, you can say that to me. It doesn't hurt my feelings. It's good. Real. But notice on the screen if other people seem to be liking it. I've learned many times myself when I'm at a workshop and let's say I'm finding the conversation to be less exciting or interesting or whatever. I look around and I notice that really at least half the people are really engaged with this. And it reminds me that we don't all learn the same way, but we tend to present the way we would want to be presented to. And not everyone likes that. So I'm just reminding us of that. Okay, I'm going to start with a little thing from Brene Brown, and I gave you a link to the slides, and please you can share them with everyone later. Brene Brown does
on the WhatsApp group, everybody.
Okay, Yofi. I think I did them as not editable, so don't play with them while I'm teaching. Play with them later. Yofi. Brene Brown has this great thing where she does a 2-word check-in. And I love this system. I think I did it with the first group I met before. The 2-word check-in goes like this: in a moment, not yet. Every one of us writes in the chat 2 words about how we're doing right now. There is no emotional reaction for us to have. There's no action point from it. You could say terrible and horrible. That's okay. We're not going to ask you to talk about it. We're not going to engage with you. But putting out there where people are coming from honors A, that you come from a context, and B, sometimes it just takes a little bit of the edge off psychologically. If I'm not in the best space, or if I'm in an amazing space, it creates an energy in the room, and we all know where we are. So I'm going to ask everyone, please, to in the chat write 2 words, but don't press return. Don't press return. And this is the 2-word check-in from Brene Brown. So you're going to write 2 words for how you're doing right now. So give you a moment to write it. Don't press return. And then in a moment, are you ready? We're going to press return and just honor where people are right now. There's nothing else you have to do about it. You see a whole bunch of people writing how they are. Thank you for that. I find that this helps me as when I'm teaching, but also it helps everyone just say, okay, this is where we are. Fantastic. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm going to share my screen. It makes it difficult for me to see you when I do that. So sometimes I'm going to stop sharing so I can see you. So stay. That's okay. So I like to tell people our plan. This is what I want to go through. I want to talk about. Have you seen this book, Playing Big with Tara Moore? Unmute. Just talk to me. Oh, I think everyone should get it. Buy this book. Practical Wisdom for Women Who Want to Speak Up, Create, and Lead. Elizabeth Gilbert writes an intro. It's fantastic. Tara Moore, in this very cool book that Brene Brown and all those cool people like Oprah like, she has a whole piece in here about the difference between yirah and pachad. So I wanted to start with that, which is so cool that like this popular book about leadership for women is about yirah. She talks to Mamish about yirah and pachad. And she says that pachad is when you're scared, almost like a physical, like when you're walking in the parking lot and you're scared someone's going to hurt you, like your instincts. That's not good pachad. But she says yirah, which is usually awe, but it's a different kind of fear. It's when you're pushing yourself to do something a little bit more difficult. Anyway, she has a whole chapter on fear, and she references yirah and pachad. So I wanted to mention the book because I think it's really cool. And also mention that what we're about to do today for most people, and in particular for women, is a place of yira and pachad, to have a difficult conversation. And if you, as a woman in particular, find this a little bit daunting, you are in good company, because there have been numerous studies, in particular, about how difficult it is for women to have difficult conversations. And so in the slides, I give you a truckload of linked articles you can play with. But I just wanted to contextualize that. And certainly, we see this all the time, on the parshiot that we're in right now. So that's Terramore. Our plan today is I made 4 case studies. You'll tell me if they sound relevant. And then we're gonna hopefully send you into breakout rooms. There's 4 case studies, so you'll be able to choose. The women in your breakout room can decide which one you want to do. But then I'm going to give you some questions to think about. I'm actually going to give you 20 minutes in your breakout rooms, which is a colossal amount of time when you're teaching. It's hard for me to be quiet that long. And I'm going to tell you why I'm doing that, because I like to be really explicit. The more you can tease out the stuff that comes up, the easier it will be for you to quickly implement what the coaches suggest. If we have time for a discussion, great, that's the plan. And then if we have time for a second round of breakout rooms, that's our plan. So far, so good? Rock on. Okay, we just did the 2-word check-in. Hashem is great. Another book I want to recommend is Susan Cain's Bittersweet. Have you read that? Okay, also want to recommend it. The truth is, Susan Cain's first book, which is called Quiet, transformed me as a teacher. Gabi Gelman and I once talked about this. It's a great book. I had a very dear friend of mine was preparing a share with me. And as we were going through the Mahalach of the share, she said, "Have you read this book, Quiet, by Susan Cain?" And I said, "No." And because if you can't tell, I'm not introverted. And I tend to teach towards people like myself. And reading the book Quiet by Susan Cain, which is fascinating and researched really well and an easy read, gave me insight about people that don't like getting up and performing. If you ask me to bake a cake for this family that is sitting Shiva or speak in front of 3,000 people, I'd rather speak in front of 3,000 people, which doesn't bode well for my baking, but you understand. So anyway, Susan Cain has a different book that came out a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, I think, called Bittersweet. It's very beautiful. I actually read it right around the Seder, and it just changed the whole Seder for me, because it's about the messiness of life. Today I want to, honor the fact that it's 100 days of captivity and horrible torture for our people, and so many people connected to us. Our prayers are with them. But that one of the things that Susan Cain in her research found out is that in order to process trauma, we don't want to sweep it under the rug. Our joy comes from partially understanding that life is fleeting, that joy is temporary. It changed for me the Seder, because the Seder is about finding the way that we talk about our trauma. And I want to be mindful of how that goes, and how often, especially as women, we sometimes, will make self-deprecating comments about things. And the way we talk about things is so crucial. Just met with a person who's trying to design a curriculum to prevent eating disorders. And one of the things, it's tricky, because if you talk about eating disorders, it encourages eating disorders. So it's a really different kind of thing. And one of the things that she was saying is that we need to get to parents of kindergarten and preschool students. That's where the education starts, because the way we talk about our bodies and food when they're, at that age, has a lot to do with how we understand ourselves and our bodies, and can really help prevent eating disorders in the future. All of that is to say is how we tell the story really matters. Okay, that was my introduction. You're going to go into breakout rooms soon. You're going to be able, and did they all have a copy of the link of the slides? Oh, Superfly. Okay, so you have this. This is great. I'm going to take you through the slides of the breakout room time, and then I'll make sure you know what we're doing, so I'll walk you through it. So here are the questions I'd love for you to think about in your breakout room. So let's say there's, do we have enough rooms for there to be like 4 women in a room? Okay, great. So just not you and me. Great. Okay, good. So while you're in the room, you might want to say, hello, how are you? How is your Shabbat? Try not to, even though that's beautiful. Try to do this. So what might you be feeling in this situation? What tools in your toolbox do you have to turn to? What skills? What would you need to do in order to determine if this is even worth a discussion? What would an effective conversation about this look like, and how might you set that up? I know I'm not giving you enough time, but 20 minutes. These are the questions to think about. So maybe at least one person to make sure that in the group that you're thinking about it. And here we go. So this is case number one. I'm going to give you, there are 4 cases. You can choose whichever case you like. Okay. So in your group, you're going to pick one of the cases. Someone's going to help you navigate those 4 and start thinking about it. We're not even necessarily going to have time to share back a whole lot of time. So I'm not going to ask you each to tell me what came up, but I am going to ask for some initial thoughts. So if something really is bullets for you, is really exciting, I would love to hear it, but we don't have enough time to hear each group rep, share it. Okay. Case number 1 is the Mincha decision. So during Mincha today, you were stuck in a parent meeting. You couldn't, hang on, I have to move up here. Okay, you could not attend. After davening was over, the men on the leadership team met quickly to decide to cancel the program and send the students back to class. That was a program that you worked hard to plan and develop. You find out about this when you hear an announcement made on the loudspeaker as you're walking to the next class. One of the rabbis on the leadership team passes you on the way and asks if you heard the announcement. Again, we're assuming good intent here. That's case number 1. Does this resonate with anybody? This case? No? Okay. Awesome. Okay, number 2. In this case, the head of school or wherever you're working has announced a major change to an area of the school that you will receive. Not only is this change one you do not agree with, it could be the shul, whatever it is. It means you did not know he would do this. You call the head of school and you ask about it, and he tells you to stop being so emotional and wonders if you should calm down and maybe talk. Resonate with anybody? Yeah, thank you. That happened to me once. Sorry. Okay, number 3 is, I'm assuming everyone can relate. The Shabbat ambush. You're at shul on Shabbat. An angry parent confronts you at Kiddush in front of other parents in the community. She's agitated about how an issue was handled with her son and asks you what you plan to do about it. Anybody? Come on. Okay, wow. You guys have such nice people in your face. And the 4th case is a prickly rock star. One of your most beloved rock star teachers, or in this case, whoever it is that you work with, who is a veteran, made some really critical errors recently and has offended many students, parents, and colleagues. People do not feel comfortable talking to her about it because she's so defensive and she has a tendency to attack back. Your job as her supervisor is to give her feedback. You write her an email asking for a meeting and she tells you that she is simply too busy writing. So what we're going to, I'm sorry, hang on a second. Your job is in a moment, you're going to go to your breakout rooms. And this is the slide that you're going to hang out in. This one. You're going to choose one of those cases, and I'm going to stop sharing. How do I stop sharing? Oh, I have to move everybody over. Here we go. Stop share. So you're going to choose one of those 4 cases, whatever you do. And if everyone chooses the same one, it's totally fine. And we're going to give you 20 minutes, but my max 20 minutes. If you're done earlier, come on back in. That's okay. And if you're done earlier and you want to do a second case, that's fantastic. The idea is that you start thinking about what makes these kinds of conversations difficult. What do you have at your disposal to use? And what might you be able to do to make them effective? I'm sure there are questions. What are the questions you might have? Wow, I even did the wait time thing when I drink. I purposely drink. Do you know that trick where you purposely drink so everyone knows you can't talk? Okay. Yofi. So in Israel, it's 4:47 right now. So we are going to give you till, what is it? 7 past the hour. Am I doing the math right? Okay. So have a great time in your breakout rooms. Pick one of the cases, use those questions, take some notes somewhere, and come back interested. So far, so good? Shem is good? Rock on. Have a good time, everybody.
Rachel, I'm going to make you a co-host so you can pop on in to these rooms.
Thank you. Thank you. The truth is, I'm not going to bother them.
Great.
I'm going to tell you what.
I'm still going to make you co-host.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate your help today. I should have asked.
Zoom.
I'm sorry, what?
You've been promoted in this Zoom.
I know. I feel very honored. I'll tell you why. They don't know me yet.
Okay.
When I do something, I've done this a couple of times, like versions of this program. And when I know them and I pop in, it's like, oh yeah, Rachel, but they don't know me yet. And it's going to stop the flow and they only have 20 minutes.
Okay.
Did I pick the right scenarios ish?
Yeah, I totally
Okay.
thought so. But I also think that even if they haven't faced the exact scenario, I
Right.
think that everyone could relate to them 100%. I think I've been in every one of those situations.
My favorite was what Mamash, there was a man who was very upset that he had totally changed the plan for something. And I said to him, I really don't think this is okay. I know that my tone was good because two other people were in the room with me. And he says, you're getting very emotional. And I'm like, wow. I said, so interesting. You should call it that.
This is the Sheryl Sandberg thing. This is like the men, it's all that literature about how women, rock star women are viewed as overly emotional or like aggressive. Calm down. Like totally calm.
There's I want to say this. I just learned this fascinating thing about, do you know the jigsaw method in teaching?
Yeah. So
I just recently learned that it was created to combat racism, to help what are the words in English? I don't speak any language at all anymore.
Desegregation?
Thank you. It was about desegregating the schools. Thank you so much. I did not know that. In fact, I wrote that. I'm going to tell you who. It's really interesting. My son just sent me this podcast from Adam Grant and what is it, Eric Aronson. He's like the famous social scientist. He studied under Maslow. He's 90 something now. He's like a brilliant social scientist. And he was on the team that created it because just putting people together in the room doesn't mean they can communicate, which is, of course, what we just did to these women. But that's why I said, I'm assuming that they sort of know each other. In order to break down barriers and teach them to listen to one another, he created the jigsaw method of teaching. So they have to.
Wow.
Isn't that so cool? I didn't know that.
Because with jigsaw, you both have to listen and then speak, right? That's the whole chop. So it's not just one skill, right? It's not like trying to even think like of another, right? You need both.
And he points it out, it's not just that we have a shared goal, is that I can't accomplish mine without you. You're essential to my success.
Right. Wow.
And apparently it took, whenever they used the method, it took 6 weeks to get them to work together to like as a unit. And then they were fine.
When I've done jigsaw in my classroom, I understand why it took them 6 weeks, because you and I both know that there's always that student that's the weak link, and what they're supposed to give over, they really don't understand that well. And I see it misused in classrooms often. So it makes sense until that trust and those guidelines have been given over in a clear way. Jigsaw, people are like, oh, I'm using cooperative learning. I'm doing jigsaw, check, but they're misusing it. It takes.
Right. And we don't, well, I mean, this is my other thing. I think we spoke about this once. I spent like 2 classes teaching how to have a chavrusa.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, we said this, right? I remember saying, oh, I'm so happy someone else says that.
Totally.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm hoping that it goes well. The thing, when I usually do this, I give people slides to take notes on, and then I can see but if we look, actually, can you see if there's the microphones are?
They're all good.
Still recording.
Speaking in every room. When we do record though, it only records us. So to whoever's watching this.
Well, we could pause now. Yeah, I'm going to pause.
I didn't mean to leave my room.
Oh,
sorry, guys. I clicked the wrong button and I got back. It's fine. It's okay.
I've only done that a lot.
I should have learned because I was just on a Zoom last week and I did the same thing. I clicked on the wrong button and ended my thing. I'm sorry, guys.
That happens sometimes. How was?
It was good. I would say we just were stuck on number 2 in terms of what you meant by the tools in the toolbox. We weren't really sure what you meant, but we had a productive conversation about it anyway. We just weren't sure exactly what you meant by that.
I actually obsessed over that line, and because I'm like, Rachel, they don't speak Rachel. They don't know what you mean. And then I was like, okay, so fine. I wanted to plant the seed, because the truth is sometimes what you think is a tool in your toolbox, you don't even realize, but it'll jog your memory later, Bezrat Hashem, which scenarios?
We did the mincha one.
Okay. So, this is so cool. Teach me your energy. 5 means I have a ton of energy. Be honest. Show me your energy level right now, please. 4s, lots of 4s, some 3s. Okay, amazing. Thank you. I'm just telling you why I asked that. Why is that? A, it tells me where you're at, and B, it just respects that, like, this is where you are. Okay. What I want to do is like this. Atara and then Ahuva. Can you each say one thing that came up for you? And this is very important. You can pass. You don't have to. You can say pass. Atara, take it away.
Just in general, one thing
Anything that came
for us.
up. Yeah.
So we did this first scenario of the mincha one. So we talked about how, like speaking not emotionally, but also like acknowledging how the emotions felt in terms of like conveying to the supervisor how you felt disrespected or undervalued or, upset with a lack of communication type thing is important in the follow-up meeting that we had discussed talking about.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks. Ahuva.
Yes, so we also spoke about how what we might be feeling in that situation is really just like the lack of communication from the supervisor or whoever made the decision.
Right. So to name it. Amazing. What I just did, by the way, everybody, was that I told everyone who I was going to. I said Atara and then Ahuva. I gave you an out. So you didn't have to. Normally, if we had more time together, I would have written everyone's name in the right order in the chat so everyone knows who they're coming after. My experience when we say we're going to go around, everyone shares one thing, is very interesting for me, but it's not as interesting for you. And the reason it's less interesting for you in my limited experience is that most of the time, everyone's thinking about what she's about to say. So there's that stress. So I want to invite, does anybody else want to share one thing that came up for her? I'm inviting it, b'simcha, but I'm not putting anyone else on the spot. Thank you, Ahuva and Atara. Gabi, thank you.
So we mainly discussed the case of the attacking parent, not necessarily kiddish, but in a general sense. And one thing that we brought up was, why as a teacher would I was talking about how I was very upset that there was no modulation of like how parents speak to teachers, from my supervisor side, to say this is not how we speak to our teachers, and then we discussed a little bit, or we brought up why me as a teacher, why would is it something that I need to look inside myself of why do I care that I need an apology, or if I feel like I am right or that I'm doing the right thing and I'm okay with my behavior, then chances are, I'm not going to convince a very angry, yelling parent of anything. So why should it be so upsetting how they react like that? That's kind of, why don't I just say that's really about them and let it be there.
Mm-hmm. Right. And also it's a human element. We're also responsible for what we tolerate. We model that. So there's that piece of for my self-respect, but also I can't control someone else's apology. I have to tell you something that is what a God. Do you know Rick? What's his name? I'm looking for his book on my shelf. I just lent it out. No, here it is. Hang on, let's go get it for you. Ron Clark. Have you guys heard of Ron Clark? No? Put my mission down. Ron Clark, great guy. I had him speak once for me. He makes me look shy and withdrawn with his energy level. Great book. That's pretty scary. Ron Clark. I'm coming in one moment. Ron Clark spoke for me once at Prisma, and he said that anytime you're dealing with an angry parent, they need to hear 3 things. So this mamash changed. This is brilliant. This is Ron Clark. The first thing is you're a good parent, even if you don't think so. The second thing is your kid's a good kid. And the third thing is your kid has great potential. And let's talk about how we're going to help them reach it. And it was godless. You're a good parent. Your kid's a good kid. I believe that. And your kid has so much potential. Let's get on the same page about how we're going to help them get there. Okay, because all the baggage I just brought in the room just got put down. One more time. You're a good parent. Kid's a good kid. I believe your kid has potential. Let's talk about how we're getting there. Ron Clark, brilliant. Okay, Talia.
Hi, okay, so I had a question. For case 1 and case 2, at least personally to me, they
Sure.
seem a little bit, I want to say old school, or that like old type of chauvinistic society and hierarchy. So I was just curious for the educators who are in the workplace now, are you still seeing situations like this? Is it,
Yeah. All the time. All the time.
I mean, I'd be happy to hear from some of the.
Yeah. What about everybody else?
This
Has
came up in
anyone-
our group also. We were split on it. I personally don't find it so much in my school, but somebody else in our group definitely does. Speak for her. She doesn't want to.
I have a question, sorry.
Wait, just
about
before your question, Talia, did you get an answer to your question?
Not so much. I was just curious to hear.
Okay, so I would say in Prisma, let me just go, because I hear this a lot, but I think it's much less so than it used to be. And I think that there's something very simple to fix in relationship over long term, as opposed to reactive. And we can come back to that if that helps. Yeah, someone who was just asking something.
me. Oh,
Ariella, I
please.
think you were going to say something about. Were you, Ariella?
I was just going to give you an example that like I was once part of the leadership team in a school where we were talking about color war. Okay. And I had a certain idea about a programmatic element to color war, which was awesome. And the response of the other males on the, let's call it leadership team, was like, oh yeah, that's because you're a woman. Oh, like that's cute. And it was extremely chauvinistic, you know, and that was very recently. So yeah.
And and the truth is we could have a whole other session about dealing with that kind of response right now. And it's hard to name it in the moment because you don't know necessarily where it's coming from and what I could do to package it differently. And it's difficult to, how do you handle that? Right. Thank you. Chagit, I think you were saying something.
yes, regard to say to a parent you are a good parent, how do you say it? Because you don't really know the parent and you don't want the parent to think that you're just giving them like a compliment.
Yeah. So don't lie, right? But I think that if there is something that you could say, like, listen, little Sarah has such good midot with her friends. Find something nice about Sarah. She obviously is learning that from great parents or something. Right? You're here.
You also even say, sorry, I'm interrupting, but like even just the fact that the parents care so much to be, making a point and saying like, I see from your, care and concern, you're really a good parent that cares about whatever about.
So let me say this just in terms of the parent thing. It's the first thing a parent needs to know is that they matter. So like when this has happened to me in shul and the parent comes up to me in shul in particular, I say, it is so important to me to hear about this. I need to protect your child's privacy right now, because whenever any kid sees me talking to any parent, especially in shul, I need them to not think I'm talking about them. Would you please email me a time that we can have a conversation about this during the week, so that and let's make sure that anytime our kids see us talking, they know in shul it's not about them. Because it's too important to me to do like this. Like this really, I want to give you 100% of my attention. I can't do that now. And this is really, really important. Yeah, by the way, Leo, there's a few people are messaging me now about sexism and chinuch, and we could do that. Yes. So at Prisma, I started a program 2 years ago called For Rising Leaders, and it's for women who are rising leaders, especially Orthodox women who are coming up, and we do a lot of work in this and in training. So let's go I don't want to give everything away yet, but anyone else, would anyone else like to share something that came up for her in her group? Please, Devorah. Devorah, I think you're muted.
just another thing in response to what Gabby said, I took it more from the perspective of how do you then have a conversation with your administration about how to be better supported in front of parents and to, you know, this is going to happen in the future. How are you going to have my back in the future? How are we going to approach these conversations? And then I was telling different stories about like how my principal was just so amazing, and a time where he was not so amazing. And I told him how not amazing he was at that particular moment, you know, and how you can have an open conversation with your administration about how things should be going in the future.
Yafa. I think one more person want to say something, and I wanted.
May I jump in?
Please.
I'm sorry, I'm not on video because I'm in the middle of packing to leave this afternoon. But you know, that what Deborah just said is it's amazing if you have the right kind of relationship with the right kind of leader, you know, and you can be open and honest like that. And let them know if you think that they have let you down or failed or behaved the wrong way in some capacity. And I've had people like that that I've worked with, but I've also had people who I very much could not speak openly with, either because I knew that they would not listen, or because it would, you know, because it would impact my job security, or because it might, you know, just backfire against me in any number of ways. And I know that a lot of people experience those same kinds of situations where they feel the need to censor themselves or muzzle themselves, as the case may be.
Right. I'm glad you said that, Leora. I'm actually, with your permission, well, I'm not asking permission. I'm just going to do. I'm sharing my screen again. And hang on. I'm just going to, because I want to make sure that a question that came up as soon as the breakout room stopped was my question was, what's in your toolbox? And I want to mention a few things that maybe you some of us may not remember is in our toolbox. So one of the things in our toolbox is like when you speak to someone, your tone of voice, obviously a lot of you mentioned, but also the place you speak to someone and your body language. So I know that when I have to go give feedback to a teacher, I try to give it to her in her room where she feels safe, where it's in her space, in her comfort place. I try as an administrator never to say to someone, can you stop by when you get a chance? Because she's carrying it over, you know, in her head. That's the worst thing. A few themes that come up as helpful tips is whenever there's a conversation versus when you did that, like that's very important. I want to explain to you how that felt for me. Or Brene Brown has this great line that I use a lot, which, you know, my kids sometimes make fun of me is, let me tell you the story I told myself about what just happened, because I'm sure it's not accurate, but I want to tell you how that experience was for me. And I want to share with you how it felt. I really want to understand it. So, you know, we can just move on from this. The second thing is when I'm having a difficult conversation with someone, what's the goal? And I think, Gabi, you mentioned, is my goal that I want you to apologize to me? Because that may not happen. I don't get to control that. Is the goal that I don't ever want this to happen again? Then I have to maybe get a more specific goal. What is the goal of the conversation that I'm having? Getting centered, and I think a bunch of you mentioned this, is naming the emotion. I felt like I was not communicated with. It felt disrespectful to me. I felt, you know, or when as an administrator, I want to have your back, teacher. When you do things like this, I will always say this. How can I help you? What is supporting you look like now? And number 4 is really important. Martha Beck has gorgeous work on this. I don't know how many of you are fans of her yet, but what do you know for sure? How much of this is a story that I'm telling myself that may be factual and maybe not? How much do I really know? I heard that the principal told this parent this, and they went around telling everyone. First of all, who's everyone? Did the principal really say this? Like, what do you know for sure? And what do you know for sure? And what do you need to find out? And the other thing is that conflict, as we know, is not inherently bad. It's okay to disagree. That's what machloket is. But there's a machloket l'shem shamayim, and there's not. You know, a machloket l'shem shamayim. And there's 6 pieces for so many of us what makes some conversations so painful is because it's changing my identity. So I'll mention this. There was a number of studies done about prosecuting attorneys who were given proof, DNA proof, that the person they sent to prison was perhaps not guilty, and they were asked to reopen the case. And the question, like, they didn't want to reopen the case. And it's so interesting because the social psychologists who were studying this said, it's not because they're terrible people. It's because their identity is wound up in believing I'm not the kind of person who would ever put an innocent person away. If I'm accusing you of doing something and I'm having a difficult conversation with you, and that means that your identity, the way you see yourself, is wrong, or maybe off this time, or maybe you made a mistake, that's a much more, it's not just about this moment. This is about a bigger thing. So being mindful about what I'm asking the person to do or admit is really important, and what the goal is. And so planning these kinds of things is actually really, really helpful. Asking yourself, and by the way, everything I gave you have the slide deck. If you have the time to really check yourself, should I bring this up? Is it worth it? How do you go to a neutral space? So going to someone in the moment of anger probably is not the best idea, right? Finding a space where the other person feels safe, or maybe you both feel safe. Exploring their story, like being able to say, this is mine, I want to hear yours. And then problem solving to move forward. You may not get the apology, especially in certain cultures, but you might get, okay, you know what? You make a really good point from now on. And I think for me, what has helped is being able to summarize what someone else is saying. I hear you saying this. It sounds like from now on, this would work better for us, etc. So I want to just give you a few pieces from the experts. I want to be mindful also of the time. So all of the slides here are for you, and I hyperlinked, I think, the next slide with a bunch of articles, but the beginning of this is really, you'll start the conversation. One of my favorite ahas as a principal was when a student got sent to my office, I always had to make sure that there was a dignified out. And that's for a parent who's not happy, for a teacher that's not happy, for me, for a colleague, for anyone. If I'm coming to someone and I have to have a difficult conversation, there has to be a way for them to leave my office with dignity. So if I'm going to my supervisor or my colleague and I have to say, I really hated how you had, like, I didn't like how you spoke to that teacher, or whatever, maybe that's not the right way to say it. I'm not really giving them a whole bunch of dignity. What are they supposed to say now? So think about how we phrase it. Physically grounding myself. I personally love to hold things. I hold paper clips. Sometimes people really benefit from ice, but making sure that, I think one of you said not reacting emotionally. I'm gonna qualify that. You can be emotional. That's why we care about things. We're passionate people, like men and women, but making sure that I am being thoughtful and purposeful, and whatever it takes to give you the physical grounding you need, that's really helpful. And then the physical setup of the room. You know what I mean? Like, are we facing each other? Are we both sitting? Are we both standing? Are you running out? How did I have a colleague who, whenever a kid is in trouble in her office, she sits on one side of the desk and the kid sits on the other side, as opposed to friends talking. They sit just in equal chairs. I think that rehearsing is key. And all the data that I found, especially for women, says that rehearsing carefully is really important. And being mindful that if I don't raise it, am I really going to let go of this, is the key. Right? So what does that look like? And it feels silly. Well, why should I have to rehearse this? It really makes a difference. All of these fantastic resources are hyperlinked, so you can have a good time going through this slide because it's fun. There's some great clips there. I'm going to give you a chance for thoughts in a moment, but I just want to show you this. In theory, what would have happened now is you would have gone back into the breakout rooms after we have a little bit more time to play some of the skills and think about what you might approach. But I am going to ask you this. Right now in the chat, would you please say one thing that you might think of in your toolbox? And I just gave you a truckload of ideas really fast without a lot of digestion time. So you might consider using, if you have to have, or if you're considering having a difficult conversation. So in the chat right now, put one skill, one thought that you might have in your toolbox. If you're going to have a difficult conversation, something that you can have. So so I really appreciate what you guys are writing. In theory, communication is too big a thing. So when you're thinking about a very specific checklist of things, I want to know where I'm having it. I want to know why I'm having the conversation. I'm going to tell the person what my goal is. It's really helpful. Practicing it is really, really essential. I think that those are game changers. And so what I'm going to encourage you to do, hang on a second, while I go back to sharing my screen just for the last time, is if you look at the next steps, you don't really have to send me your exit ticket, although I would love it, is that if you can go through some of the articles and suggestions and things that you brought up together, and make yourself a note in the notes section of your phone. And you can go back to it when you're in the heat of the moment. It really helps. The exit ticket is not necessary, but it's helpful. Helpful for me, but also helpful for you. I ask for this whenever I give a session. 2 wishes and a plus. I stole it from Rabbi Foreman at Azrieli, may he rest in peace. And two pluses are things that you got out of the session, something you liked. I once had a student tell me that she liked my earrings. And a plus, a wish is something that wasn't clear, you wish was different, what is still not helpful for you. I find that when I ask people to do this, A, it's fun because, we get to write to each other, but B, it helps the participants really be reflective about, okay, what did I get out of this? Let me just say for the record, as I wrap up my last minute together, this was just the tip of the iceberg. It's really hard to have a dignified, difficult conversation that leaves both parties feeling like that might have been hard, but that was important and worthy of my time. But just like you prepare a really good lesson with thoughtfulness, if we are going into a conversation with another human being created b'Tselem Elokim, we need to also prepare. So I am so honored to have had this time with you. I'm so grateful for Klal Yisrael that they have you to teach and lead at this time, especially. And I wish everyone a Chodesh Tov and so much Hatzlacha. If I can do anything to help, please be in touch. RachelDratch18@gmail.com. And thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
B'simcha. Laila Tov.
Thanks.
So anybody who's in year 1, we're going to have a 15-minute break now. And then ladies who are in year 2, have a good week. And Shani will be on in 15 minutes.
Thank you.
Ariella, are we also going to be getting feedback from you on our presentations?
So originally, it was a bit easier because originally you were all going to be submitting recordings. I know you did. So because you did, I will give you the story that no. That's how it was designed. But Shani really felt, and she is right, that it is so much better when a person can perform live because that's right the most similar to how in general we perform. So the only thing is that it's a disaster zone for me to be on in the later slot. So I will try my best. If anybody specific wants my feedback and it's not pre-recorded, I can always look it up on the recordings. But I will be happy to give you feedback.
I would love it. I'm going, it seems like I haven't seen what today's slot is, but because I'm coming from a community educator perspective,